George Lopez is returning to television after 15 years with his new show, Lopez vs. Lopez, that he has created and is executive producing. In fact, the show was inspired by a TikTok done by his daughter, Mayan. Hello, George and Selenis. It's so wonderful to be here with you. I'm going to start with you, George. I understand the show was inspired by a TikTok that your daughter Mayan did. So what's it been like reconnecting with her both off screen and on screen as she's acting and producing with you?
Well, first of all, she has her own identity, and I wouldn't be able to tell her what I felt without her responding to how she felt, which is very new to me and in my family, where a lot of times I was told things, but I wasn't able to respond. And I think when we grew up, they would be like, I don't want to hear another word from you, which doesn't work now. And it doesn't work in relationships. So to go through those tough times where I would have to go see mine in a therapist room, and it would get a little deep and heavy and painful, and we walk out together. I don't know if people should walk out together after therapy. Probably one should leave, and and the other one should leave a couple minutes later. Like when you're trying to leave without paying the bills, like, listen, you pretend you're going to the bathroom and I'll meet you around the back. So to walk out together is more uncomfortable than sitting in a room for an hour together in the elevator, and you're like, okay, bye. But we got through all of those things, and those things were really hard for me. And also, I was a creator a lot of the issues in the family, and held responsible, which I was responsible for. But it was very tough on me personally because I didn't have a support system other than the support system being comedy and being able to mine those stories and have Mayan be okay with it. But she'd gotten past a lot of the issues. And I know that, I said that if Mayan was not 100% with the stories or 100% with the writing, she would be the first person to say so. So I'm honored by that, and the fact that she's real.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's been great seeing both of you on screen together. Selenis, it seems like filming this must have been so much fun. For you, what was it about the script that resonated?
Well, first, just to work with George Lopez was not too shabby. True story. At the audition, it was a Zoom like this, and I was sweating profusely. Like I've never. The last time I felt that kind of intensity was like when I went to Cuba for the first time, and it was like just humid, and I was just like, I can't stop sweating. And that was the same reaction. And I was like, why am I so nervous? Because I care. I cared about landing this job. I cared about it because the script was good. It was not just good, it was great. And it spoke to me. It was something that excited me. And I was like, this is mine. I'm Rosie. I have to be Rosie. I have to join this group of people that are telling this story, because it was clear from the pilot episode that this was not fluff. It was clear from the pilot episode that this was going to have, like someone said earlier, a lot of heart, that it was going to be comedy, but there was going to be moments that were going to land and make you think. And it resonated with me as also a single mother. I raised a young girl, and Mayan and her actually even look alike. And I fell in love with Mayan from the moment I saw her. And I was like, I want to protect her. I want to be there for her, because I understood her. I understood where she was coming from. And I also know the importance of a daughter-father relationship. It's really important. I have an amazing father, and I have an amazing relationship with him. It wasn't always perfect, right? Because people are flawed. People aren't perfect. We want them to be, but they're not. And that's what drew me to this. It was like, these are flawed people who want to make the best, who really are trying hard to love on each other. And they may do it. Sometimes they succeed right off the bat. Sometimes they don't. But that's what excites me as an actor, to find that complexity in these stories and characters.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, flawed people trying their best. I think we all as human beings can at some point relate to that. George, you have made so many of us laugh throughout the years. I mean, I'm truly very honored to be here to be able to
Thank
speak
you.
to both of you
Are you
today.
sweating? No.
You know what? I will tell you, Selenis, actually, before I got on, I was nervous. I was
Okay.
nervous. I was like, Mom, I'm talking to George Lopez today.
Exactly.
It's George Lopez. George, like I was saying, you've made so many of us laugh, but how has comedy played a role in your personal journey? I know you were touching upon that just a little in our first question as well.
You know, man, I didn't really know my father, and I didn't know my mother. My grandmother was very, very disconnected. Not a bad person, just disconnected. And television became, I'm not going to say anything other than entertainment. And a time when I needed to be connected to something, I was connected to those images on television, and those were goals that I set that I don't think any other teenager would set for himself. When we were 15, my friend we drove to Hollywood Boulevard every day. We went and got coffee, and we got a donut. We walk up and down the Hollywood Boulevard, and I would see George Burns' star or George Reeves' star, and I would imagine my name there. Those other guys didn't. They didn't imagine the things that I was imagining. Their fathers worked at General Motors, or their father was in construction. And I didn't know what I would do, but I just knew that this world of comedy, and in seeing, Johnny Carson, and seeing Freddie Prinze for the first time, and following Richard Pryor and Cheech and Chong, and those things that entertained me more and were, to me, more important than unfortunately a lot of people that were in my life. So comedy has been kind of a bit of air that has kind of lifted me and taken me away from a place that I thought was not a bad place, but not the most creative place for me. And then I've gone back and done things for my school, and apologized to teachers that I was rude to. So in things that I learned about myself through comedy, it also reminded me that a lot of people that told me things I didn't want to hear were correct. And for the first time, I would go back and apologize to someone who was not a family member, and to tell them that I could not go forward unless I apologized to that person, which no one instilled in me other than just the people that had told me those things. Nobody told me to be responsible or to be a person of integrity. I learned it from other people.
Well, what an amazing journey. And we're so happy to see you back on the screen. I probably have time for one more question. So Selenis, I'm going to throw this out to you. In the I saw the first episode, and I loved how they refer to the Lopez way. So you being a mother, or even in your own childhood, was there something in your family where it's like, no, this is the way we do it, and this is how it's going to be done?
Yeah, yes. I think in any family, especially maybe in Latino families, like my father is a Cuban man, and in his house, you only spoke Spanish, and this was the way it was done, and that was the law of the land. And you couldn't talk politics, because if you came into their house talking about Fidel Castro or admiring him, he'd be like off with their heads. Like, I mean, it was intense. My father was and it's still, I think with age, he's gotten a little softer, but he was pretty adamant about speaking Spanish in the house. It was the Leyva way. That was it. That was the way it was. And I think for my mother, it was, this is the way we clean here. we clean this way. She's like, none of that sweeping around, because you're going to sweep a room. You're going to take the furniture out of the room. You're going to sweep under everything. And so I think that those were the things that, if I have to say, were very much the Lopez way. It was the language and the cleanliness of the home.
I love it. I have to tell you, as a South Asian American woman, I can relate to that.
Right?
Both of those things were very prevalent in my household too. So I want to thank you both for your time and just for being here. I'm really excited for the show and what you've created, George. And so lots of luck to both of you and much success.
Thank you
very
so much.
Thank you both.